Today we're going to learn how to. Today we're going to learn how to perform operations with our radicals, and what that simply means is we're going to learn how to add and subtract and multiply our radicals. So we're going to start off with adding and subtracting radicals. And so if we think about adding and subtracting our radicals as being just like combining like terms, I'm going to write that here, combining like terms, it's really pretty straightforward, okay? Because in this first example here, we have 4 times the square root of 10 plus the square root of 13 minus 9 times the square root of 10. If we think of the square root of 10 as being an x and the square root of 13 as being a y, we can actually take that and transform it to look something like this. 4x plus y minus 9x. And so now you can see that we can actually combine this term and this term so that we'll see that we can end up with 4 minus 9x is a negative 5x plus y. Okay, so remembering that the x is the square root of 10 and the y is the square root of 13, that means I could combine these two to end up being negative 5 times the square root of 10 plus the square root of 13. Okay, so that's how those would simplify. So as long as they have the same square roots, we can add or subtract them just like they were variables. Okay, now those two, we recognize that the square root of 10 and the square root of 13 are not, you can't simplify those. So we can just look to see if we can combine them. Sometimes we have to look at our square roots to see if we can simplify them first. In this next example here, we have 5 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 48. We should recognize that we can simplify the square root of 48 to be the square root of 16 times the square root of 3, which then ends up being 4 times the square root of 3. Okay, and then here we have 5 times the square root of 3. So now we can actually add those together to end up with 9 times the square root of 3. Okay, so that was that one. Everybody should be able to do this one as well, because recognize that the square root of 63 is going to end up being the square root of 9 times the square root of 7. And don't forget that 3, because it's 3 times the square root of 63. Okay, and then this is going to be 3 times the square root of 7, which is 9 times the square root of 7. And don't forget, we still have this 2 times the square root of 7 that we're adding to it. So that's ultimately going to be 11 times the square root of 7. All right, the same holds true for cube roots. So once again, the cube root of 10 and the cube root of 13 can't be simplified, but I can see that I have a cube root of 10 here and a cube root of 10 there. So I can combine those. That's going to end up being negative 5 times the cube root of 10 plus the cube root of 13. Okay, sometimes we have to simplify our cube roots first, though. We should be able to see that this one will simplify to the cube root of 64 times the cube root of 2. Okay, everybody should know that the cube root of 64 is 4 times the cube root of 2. Bring this one down because we're still adding 5 cube roots of 2 plus 4 cube roots of 2 is going to end up equaling 9 times the cube root of 2. Okay, and then in this next one, we should recognize that the cube root of 189 will simplify to, well, we still have the 3 there, 3 times the cube root of 27, that's the cube root of 27, times the cube root of 2, no, that's not 2, that's times the cube root of 7, excuse me, change that to a 7, plus we got 2 times the cube root of 7. Now we should see that this is 2 times the cube root of 7 plus 3 times the cube root of 7. 3 times 3 is 9. That's going to end up equaling 11 times the cube root of 7. All right. Also notice that we can add and subtract are like terms, and so that means that they have to be either cube roots or square roots. They can't combine cube roots and square roots. So for instance, this one is the cube root of 10, but this one here is the square root of 10, so we wouldn't be able to combine those, but that square root of 10 would combine with this one, and that cube root of 10 would combine with that one, because those are all cubes and square roots. So in doing that, we have the cube root of 10 minus the 4 cube roots of 10. We're going to have negative 3 times the cube root of 10. And then in the other part, we have minus 2 square roots of 10 plus 8 square roots of 10. We're going to have plus 6 times the square root of 10. Okay, and that's how we would do that. That's add.